If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And then after that, Sarah Basha, one of the board members of Healing Across the Divides, will make some final comments. Again, my name is Norbert Goldfield, as already said, for those of you who just joined. I'm the founder and executive director of Healing Across the Divides, and today's session is focused on two topics. Number one is the grantee study tour, and number two is a focus on one particular grantee that's working in a particularly fraught area in the West Bank, which is the South Hebron Hills. It'll be good. It's going to be worthwhile to take a quick look at a map to get started. And I think that will be worthwhile to see. So here's a map of the immediate region in Israel and the West Bank and Gaza. So you can see, broad terms, what Israel and West Bank and Gaza look like geographically. Then let's focus on one specific part of the West Bank. And the part of the West Bank that we'll be talking about today with the grantee, though Aziz Abu Sarah will be talking about the study tour, where we'll be visiting all parts of Israel and all parts of the West Bank. But we'll be talking about the South Hebron Hills, which is right around here, where we have been involved for quite some time with grantees, and Fatah will be talking about that. So now you have a sense geographically, because it's very hard to imagine it unless you are on one of the study tours, the Healing Across the Divide study tour, where you get a very good sense of what's going on. But without that, it's difficult to imagine the situation. So speaking about myself, I'm an American, but I'm a refugee to this country, as were my parents. And I've always felt that it's important to be engaged in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In addition, it's important to realize that all Americans are involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. All Americans are involved. Israel is the largest recipient of foreign aid. Whoever is making noise in the background, if I could ask you to cut it back. Israel is the largest recipient of foreign aid of anybody, of any country, and Egypt is the second largest recipient. So all Americans are involved. And since I'm not one of the 15 or 10 or 15 people that can make a difference from the top down, I founded Healing Across the Divides. We're in our 18th year in 2004. And our mission specifically is working from the bottom up. We work to measurably improve the health of marginalized Israelis and Palestinians through community-based interventions. The dream is that short-term, and we've seen that dream realized, that short-term not only is health measurably improved for several 100,000 people, but the community groups that we work with and fund, their effectiveness is enhanced. The dream long-term is that some of the leaders of some of these community groups will be some of tomorrow's political leaders. That's a long-term objective. But in the short term, our focus, and we currently fund about 10 programs right now, both in Israel and the West Bank, is to measurably improve the health of marginalized Israelis and Palestinians. It's very hard to imagine the approach that best way to understand what's going on in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But we are fortunate to have met Aziz Abu Sarah, Scott Cooper, and who is the founder of Mejdi Tours, And I'm just going to admit somebody, and who is somebody who we've been working with for years now. And since 2016, we've had a study tour every year, except for during the immediate COVID pandemic. Lucky to be working with Aziz. And so he will then give us some background on the study tour. We have our study tour dates already set for 2023, March 12th through 22nd. Happy to answer questions about it after several presentations. Aziz, I'd like you to take over.
Thank you, Norbert. Sorry, I had to switch to my phone, so hopefully you can hear me well.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, my name is Aziz, and I'm from Jerusalem. And I want to talk about the study tour that we do together. Scott and I, that you mentioned, have established Mejdi together. Mejdi is an Arabic word, which means honor, respect, glory. And the idea is to honor and respect both the travelers and the people where you're traveling and the environment where you're at. And that's our goal of the company. Scott is Jewish, I'm Palestinian, which is a rare partnership, definitely in the business world. It's a rare partnership to start a company in this fashion of partnership. We've been working together for 15 years together, not just in tourism and conflict resolution in other places as well. But in relation to this tour, we're doing something that Scott and I invented and working together with Healing Across the Divide on, is the dual narrative aspect, where the study tour would have two tour guides, one Israeli and one Palestinian, who would lead the trip together. And the idea isn't that they would debate and argue the whole time. These are two people who see eye to eye in many things. They might have some disagreements and debates, but the trip isn't a fight or an argument, but rather an attempt to understand reality from multiple perspectives, having an Israeli and a Palestinian, meaning each of them will bring the different perspectives in their own community, something the other, doesn't matter how knowledgeable they are of the other community, would not be able to do. And the goal is to travel through the West Bank, through Israel, meet with some of the organizations that Norbert has talked about that receive funding from Healing Across the Divide, and also meet other community leaders, learn about the important places, some tension places, some of the areas in the occupied territories that are suffering due to the occupation. Those are things that will be dealt with through the trip. And again, you'll hear multiple perspectives wherever we go through the trip. And the goal by the end of it is to understand the complexities, but also to have an idea of what you personally can do. What are the issues? What are the solutions? What are the problems that we're dealing with? I think without facing the reality, you can't really talk about solutions. And too often in Israel and Palestine, people like to simplify it. And it's hard to simplify it. You need to dig deeper. You need to understand the nuances. You need to understand the different communities, so you know how to engage. And that's our goal of establishing Mejdi and of creating these partnerships like the one we have with Healing Across the Divide. Anything else, Norbert, you want me to touch on?
No, certainly through the study tour, you'll get a real flavor. I just want to emphasize not only of the dual narrative aspects, but you will get a sense of the incredible food that's available on both sides of the divides. And you'll get a sense, maybe, maybe Aziz didn't want to talk about it, but hopefully in the coming year, and I think it's still on the itinerary, that we'll visit your family and and to see, and not just wonderful food, but to get a sense of some of the life. We certainly visit any number of families throughout the study tour, and that's of course arranged through Mejdi. Anything else?
Yeah, and I think that's often missed on the classic tours on Palestine. It's And it's partially why we wanted to start these kind of tours, is because you can travel and see sightseeing, which we will do some of those important sightseeing, historical, religious, so on. But often people don't really connect to the human beings there. You don't get to art, you don't get to music, you don't get to food. And even though we're focusing on some of the issues that Healing Across the Divides are trying to target here, none of these issues are left aside. We learn about music, like the visit you do to my family. We have some musicians who will come and play, and if people feeling it can move around and do some dancing. And then the food aspect is really, really important, learning about the differences between food and how we argue sometimes over food, and then what is it that people eat in our country, and how it changes from even not just Israel to Palestine, but changes from north to south. These things, nuances that often are not mentioned at all on most tours, and that we able to talk about it. And having two tour guides creates more than just two narratives. It creates many narratives, because each guide is presenting multiple narratives, and then the people we meet during the trip present other narratives. So you leave with a much better understanding of life, culture, history, politics, all of that together.
Thank you, Aziz. So Healing Across the Divides, and in many ways the work that we do there and the flavor that you get to see could not exist without having a representative in Israel and in Palestine. I'm so pleased to introduce Nihat Fatah, who has worked with us for quite a few years, part of the organization, and she will talk to us about herself, tell us a little bit about the work that we've done in the South Hebron Hills for years before she introduces one of the grantees who's working in the South Hebron Hills. Nihat?
Hi, I will get on video to say hi really quick so everyone can see me, but then I'm going to jump off because the internet is not great in my house. So hi, my name is Nihat Fatah, and I've been working with Healing Across the Divide since 2016. I joined, way back when. It's been a while now. I'm Palestinian American. I grew up in San Francisco and moved here about 21 years ago, my husband and I, and have raised 3 children and living in Ramallah currently. So I'll just give you a general sense of where we work in Palestine. So on the Palestinian side, we are working, we have 5 organizations currently on the ground. We're working in Gaza and in Jenin, and we're working in a refugee camp in Ramallah, Kalandia, and in Hebron. And we're also working with Yes Theater. I said Gaza, right? I think I said Gaza. And then we're also working with Yes Theater, who is our grantee, and I'll introduce Mohammad Issa shortly, where they're stationed in Hebron area, and he'll give us a little background around their organization, but in general, they do psychosocial services for men, women, children, and youth in the Hebron area. We've been working in that area for almost over 6 years now. Our first grantee that was there was the Palestinian Working Women's Society for Development, PWWSD, and they started working in Susia. I'm not sure if you guys have heard the news around that, but Susia and Masafer Yatta is an area that is in constant threat of demolitions and forcibly removed, or they're in court right now. Actually, there was a court decision that was made, but to evacuate or expel the residents of that area for religious reasons, military reasons. There's settlers that live in that area right now, and they are constantly harassing the residents that live in that area on nightly harassments, dogs going into people's homes, banging on doors. So it could get quite violent on the settler side in that area. And just recently, there was a decision that was finally made that was in favor of Israel to remove the families living both in Susia and in Masafer Yatta. So-
the decision was made by the Israeli Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, exactly, by the Israeli Supreme Court. Thank you, Norbert. Please fill in any gaps. And so our work in that area is vital, actually. We provide psychosocial services, Yes Theater currently, PWWS finished, and then Yes Theater was granted an award. They've been working in that area for almost 3 years now. So it's really important and vital for the work that we do there. We provide psychosocial services. We've to date have reached probably around 1,000 people in the Southern Hebron area. We do different types of, we provide different types of therapy, art therapy, drama therapy. There was group sessions, and this is between both Yes Theater and PWWSD and individual counseling. So our work there is tremendous. Having said that, I'd like to introduce now Dr. Mohammad Issa, who is the director of Yes Theater in Hebron. So he can give you a little bit more information about the work that they do and the work that they've done in Masafer Yatta and Susia. Marhaba.
Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate being invited to participate in this event that supports the Palestinian people, particularly the villagers of Masafer Yatta. My name is Mohammad Issa. I manage Yes Theater. I'm one of the co-founders of Yes Theater for Communication Among Youth, which is a Palestinian non-governmental organization that founded in 2008. Actually, Yes Theater works to improve the psychosocial well-being of Palestinian people through the use of drama and theater. In 2016, Yes Theater has decided to extend its activities in terms of, let's say, the approach that adopted by the organization. We have started our work through the use of drama and theater, but at such a moment, we have discovered that drama therapy is very important for the Palestinian people. According to UNICEF, 88% of the Palestinian people are traumatized. It means that we live in a very traumatized nation, and this is because of different reasons. The occupation, by the way, one of these reasons, but we cannot all the time blame the occupation for this, but we have also some contribution from us as Palestinians. Over the past few years, Yes Theater has developed the capacities of its drama teachers in different fields. And one of the main fields is drama therapy. And this has started through a project which is called Taking the Tension Out of the Palestinian Children. And we, at that moment, we decided to target the Palestinian children who detained by the Israelis and lived this experience, because we found that this category is marginalized and no one cares of them. And it was the beginning. It was the beginning really for our interventions that based on drama therapy and psychology in general. Taking the tension out of the Palestinian children, let's say, was the main reason to develop other projects. One of them is funded by HATD, which is Healthy Minds. In the last few years, we have been able to work in different areas with a special focus on Masafer Yatta. Our relationship has started with Masafer Yatta from 2008. I mean, since the establishment of Yes Theater. And I'm not talking here only about what we are doing in the drama therapy intervention, but also we deliver a lot of workshops and we conduct a lot of activities in cooperation with the CBOs that are based there. Maybe, I don't know if you are familiar with the situation of the Palestinian people, and particularly the villagers of Masafer Yatta. The people there face a lot of challenges and risks. One of them is the military zones that are decided by the Israeli occupation to be used for military trainings, which called the zone fires, and also the eviction and the forced eviction, and also the lack of services, because the Palestinian Authority cannot do anything there, because this is an area which is considered as a part of Area C. And Area C, one of the main components of the Oslo Agreement that the Palestinian Authority signed with the Israeli side. What we are doing is based on drama therapy. We are trying to do our best in order to provide the people who are really, who live in a fear of eviction and they face challenges on daily basis with something that could help them to survive and even to improve their psychosocial well-being, because this is the aim, and also to support their presence in this area, which is totally considered as a part of the West Bank, and it must be under the control of the Palestinian Authority according to Oslo Agreement. What I would like to mention that Yes Theater, we called our organization Yes Theater because we would like to say yes for everything positive. I don't like to victimize the Palestinian people, but I do believe that we need you, because we do believe that human beings, people who live in America and the other countries are partners, and they cannot accept, the situation that the Palestinians face, not only in Masafa Riyadh, but everywhere in Palestine. We need your support, and really we need to be more engaged with the Palestinian cause and to support those people who really live in a psychological dilemma. I don't know if this terminology could be used or not, but actually really they face a lot of challenges and problems, and we need to support them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Would you like to maybe describe a little bit about some of the programs specifically in that you've been leading in Masafer Yatta or Susia?
One of the main programs is, we have actually two programs. The program which is implemented in cooperation with your organization, which is called Healthy Minds. And in Healthy Minds, we send our drama therapists to work with different groups that represent different categories. I mean, children, youth, and women. And in these sessions, we use different techniques and ways in order to improve their mental health status without, ignoring the other elements. I mean, the other factors that could cause some problems for them. And the second program is the art therapy bus, in which that we send a bus really to these marginalized areas, and we conduct a lot of activities through the use of drama, theater, and puppet speaks.
Thank you very much. So now I'd like to, I'm going to make some additional comments, but I'd like to start inviting people to ask any questions, either about the study tour, about Healing Across the Divides, and specifically about the work of Yes Theater. The reason we're featuring Yes Theater right now is because the Israeli Supreme Court has made a final decision that all the villages in that area can be demolished. That court case was in process for years, and the study tour visits some of those villages, and it's really difficult for us as Americans, because we don't live in the area, to really get a sense of what's going on really directly. We tried our best to get a sense from the dual narrative tour. We try to do our best. You'll see checkpoints. You'll see marginalized Israelis, within Israel. We have had funded projects with Orthodox Jewish women. We have funded projects with what are called refugee asylum seekers and we currently fund the project. So you'll hear and see those stories through the study tour. But it's most tangible, or at least I feel that it's most tangible, when we're in the South Hebron Hills. And the reality is that the South Hebron Hills right now are under direct demolition order. Some of the homes have already been demolished over the last few weeks. And what we will be doing, and Sarah Basha will be talking about this in a little bit, But what we'll be doing is having an emergency campaign to try to provide some additional psychosocial services as these individuals, and there's several thousand here, who will be displaced. So what I'd like to do is invite people to ask any questions that you might have for either myself, Nihad, Aziz regarding the study tour, and Mohammed. And certainly, Aziz, if you'd like to have any additional questions or comments on the study tour at this point, feel free to step in, and then we'll wait to see the questions as they come forward.
I just wanted to add one thing really quick before. So when we talk about these homes being demolished, a lot of these Palestinians live in like canteens. They're not actual homes because they don't have permits, because they need to get those from the Israeli government, who has been denying them for years now because, you know, of the current court case. So these people aren't, and some are living in tents in these areas, and they're staying in this area because they want to preserve their land. So when we say the homes are being demolished, it's not, in most cases, they're not homes in what we would traditionally think in like an American home. I mean, some of them are just tents. They're not refugees, they just can't build. And so in order to preserve their land, a lot of them are staying in these tent-like or canteen-like homes in the area. I just wanted to throw that out there. So there's a lot going on for these families.
So there are questions that are coming through, and I want to just ask Aziz, do you want to make any additional comments before we go to the questions?
No, I think that's good. The questions.
Okay, well, there's a good number of questions. The first question is from Richard Fine, and he asks a question for Mohammed. I would benefit from an example of what the dramas are about, who controls the puppet movements, etc. Can you, you need to take yourself off mute, Mohammed.
Actually, what we are doing in the puppetry department is totally different than what we are doing in the drama therapy department. In the drama therapy department, and this is this is the department which cooperates with HATD to implement Healthy Minds. We use storytelling or therapeutic storytelling as a way in order to work and intervene with the people who are in Masafiriyat and the other areas that we target. For the puppetry department, actually, we use our experience in the drama therapy in order to develop texts that could be performed to the children and help them to cope with their problems. But the two projects are totally different. One of the main examples is, if you would like to get more about the puppetry department, is a play which is called Sana. Sana is a Palestinian girl who has a problem with pronunciation. And actually, it's a real story. And we had to write this text after conducting a lot of interviews with Sana and her family. And we had to put our touches, it means from an artistic and also from an educational point of view, in order to aware the people about this issue. What we are doing is something which is not politicized at all. It's a theater that could help people to get some entertainment and also to improve their psychosocial well-being.
Thank you, Mohammed. There's another question for you. From Janelle Johnson, how will the evictions impact the Yes Theater work?
Actually, this area, I mean, Masafiriyat is very dangerous. When you send your team or your colleagues to work there, you need to take a lot of protection mechanisms. And at the end of the day, we do our best, but this is something which is not in our hand, because Masafiriyat is not also under the control of the Palestinian Authority. This is why that we used, let's say, somehow, I call it a creative way of communications through creating channels with the local communities there in order to understand the nature of the area, and even to get information about what is going on there. It means that if they have military forces that comes in order to demolish a house, or they have some clashes with the children and youth there, we are informed by the people there in order to take alternative ways and to find safe spaces to implement our activities.
Thank you. Before I turn to Nihad Fatah, I do want to emphasize that, and Aziz may want to comment on this also, that one thing that I highly value, one of the many things that I highly value about the Mejdi Tours, is that they're always cognizant of safety. There's two aspects of safety these days, and I want to highlight both of them for you. One is the issue of the security safety that Mohammed spoke about, and Aziz may want to comment on also. But I also want to highlight COVID safety. And the reason I want to highlight COVID safety is because two things. Number one, in 2020, we had more than 20 people who were signed up, March 2020, and I canceled the study tour to the annoyance of a fair number of people. And I know of another study tour that went at the same time, and half the people came down with COVID. And then this time, when we went on the study tour in March of this year, people sometimes were, grousing a bit about all the strictures that we had, that all the drivers and the guides had to test before they interacted with us. We were out there, but we were always wearing a mask. Just like in the United States, no one there is wearing a mask anymore, but we were wearing masks. Whenever we met inside, we had the windows open, but we met outside as much as possible. So I just want to, there's two kinds of safety these days. There's COVID safety and the security issues that Mohammed spoke about. Aziz, do you want to say anything more about the second kind of safety before I turn to Nihad? I'm not sure if we lost him.
You're on mute, Aziz.
Sorry, I said you already covered it, and I think being aware of both of these issues is very important for us, and working with you and making sure that all precautions are taken. I can tell you now there are more cases, but we're still running more trips than the last 2.5 years. And one of the things we do, and it's an amazing thing because you catch a potential case this way, is testing tour guides before they meet with the group, and that has been the best idea. I know not everyone does that, but for us it's important. And in a couple of cases, we had to change the tour guide the night before or the morning of, due to COVID, and that's better than everybody in the trip being exposed to the virus. But other than that, we've run now probably a few dozen tours in the last few months, and the result has been great. First, fortunately, we've had a few people who got COVID in the trips. We help them when it comes to isolation, medical care, all of that. And then we've had no case that needed to be hospitalized. We've had no case. Our travelers have been vaccinated, so that makes the chances of hospitalizations almost to nothing. So, yeah.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but no one on our study tour got COVID. Nihad is going to speak to one issue that maybe not everyone is familiar with, which is that the West Bank is divided into areas A, B, and C, with the vast majority being area C. But also just to give you a flavor of moving from A, B, and C, because Mohammed spoke about that.
So I'll give a little bit of background information, but please, Mohammed or Aziz, step in terms of making sure I explain this correctly, because it's just a little confusing. So I think as a result of Oslo, the agreement was the Israelis would, if this was fully implemented, would give back certain parts of the area to the Palestinian Authority. So they broke up the West Bank and Gaza into 3 parts, which was Area A and Area B and Area C. So Area A is administered, all logistics, all admin, administration, and the land went to the PA. So this included big towns like Ramallah, Nablus, Hebron. But within those, there was also, in those, the cities, within that, there was, they broke it up into even further pieces called Area B. So Area B was administered by the PA. So you would get your, your passport, you would do all your logistical work through the PA. And then the land was still under Israeli control. So in Area A, the land was under the Palestinian Authority's control, and the administration and logistical work was in Area A. Area B, the logistical work and administration would be under the PA, but the land was still Israeli land and protected that way. And then there's Area C, which there is no administrative work for the Palestinian Authority, and the land is still with Israel. And so that area, usually a lot of these Area Cs are areas where the PA can't enter and do anything, and the Israelis come in and do as they like. As we've seen over the years, they've come into all areas now, even in Area A's. They originally weren't supposed to, but they come into Area A in the evenings, they still do their nightly raids, they still pretty much have control in that sense. But in Area A, if you wanted to build, you can build. In Area B, it was a bit harder to get permits to build. And in Area C, there was no permits. And so Masafir Yatta and Susia, I think strategically was put under Area C with the full intent of finally taking it over. And so that's what's happening right now. Please step in, Mohammad or Aziz, if I missed anything.
If you want to give, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mohammed.
Yeah, what I would like to add, it looks like puzzles. I mean that sometimes, it's very confusing. I mean that sometimes you find yourself in Area A, which is under the full control of the Palestinian Authority, and sometimes you move to, an area just 1 kilo far from the area that you are in, and this is under the control of the Israelis. And really, this is very confusing, and this is also has its own negative influence on the development in Palestine, because it means that people are traumatized and they don't have hope, because the hope is also connected with the environment and the place that they live in. If they are not able to access and control their resources, they cannot make decisions right now and in the future. And this also complicates, the life of the Palestinians, and influences negatively their psychosocial well-being.
So I wanted to ask you, Mohammed, this is a question that I have, maybe just also to give a further flavor to Richard Fine's question. Could you give any examples of some of the successes and even some of the challenges that you've had? I know you submit, in terms of the reports that you submit, is both aggregate data. We look at aggregated data on different kinds of questionnaires, but we also look at qualitative information about specific individuals. Are there any maybe individual stories that you could that you would feel comfortable sharing with us that might give people a flavor of some of the important work that you're doing?
I don't have, let's say, a lot of information about, because that we need to respect the privacy of people, especially when we are using the drama therapy approach. What I get from my colleagues who are working on the ground, that that children, youth, women who participate in our activities get these sessions in a positive way, and they do feel that there is a progress in terms of their coping mechanisms with their mental health issues and problems. But I don't have, let's say, data about what happens exactly. Some stories from here and there, which says that people are getting much better after that they attend our sessions.
I wanted to just say something quick around that. So I've actually attended some. I've had the privilege to attend some of these sessions, and for privacy reasons, we're not going to get into detail. But I have entered the sessions in the beginning and seen how people were withdrawn and not open, and some had some serious trauma that they had developed. And these are in group sessions. And as the sessions went on, because they go on from 15 to 20 sessions, as they start developing, I've seen some of the women and children become much more engaged, having some more hope, and feeling that, that we have choices. And so there's different, and everyone's coming in with different, some are related to the occupation, some of the issues, some are related to home life, some are related to, studying, school. So I've seen this gradual increase in like feeling better and having more hope, and to where I've actually attended the last sessions where people were in tears because it was about to end. And so I can't tell you how moving it is. I'm even now when I say this, how moving it is to see the people and the participants just evolve, because they had a chance to open up, and Yes Theater has given that opportunity. The storytelling is an amazing way to have people tell their stories, and they all feel comfortable, and it's all confidential because it's in small villages, right? You want to make sure that your story isn't going to be told outside, and Yes Theater does a really good job in terms of keeping things confidential, and the people who participate respect that. And I can't tell you how much it means to me to see that. We've even seen boys, young men and women in the same room doing these sessions together, which is, could be quite a bit of a taboo in our society. But Yes Theater has allowed that to happen. So again, I just can't say how much the work that they do in that area is so beneficial.
Thank you, Nihad. I think that really gave us a flavor. There's a question here from Elizabeth Kaplan, who actually was on this year's study tour. Oh no, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I thought I was looking at Elizabeth Milwee. Sorry about that. But Elizabeth Kaplan asked the question, can you talk about how you reach out, encourage families to participate in the program, Mohammed?
Yes, actually, we do this through, through the local community, especially the community-based organizations. We have a lot of contacts with organizations that already based in the area, with the let's say mukhtars, the heads of big families, because they play a major role in convincing the people in these areas about the importance of the work that we do. And even also, we cannot ignore that we have other organizations that work in Masafir Yatta. It's a professional network, which means that people recommend Yes Theater to the local residents, and in this way we attract the attention of people to attend our activities. But one of the main issues of this success is the mothers, I mean the Palestinian woman in general, because the Palestinian woman plays a major role in heading her family, and sometimes she it's all the time she is looking for solutions, even if she faces a problem or one of her kids has a problem or a mental health problem.
Thank you, Mohammed. So far, what we've tried to give you a flavor of is a flavor through Aziz in particular of the study tour. We tried to give you a flavor, not just that it's visiting grantees and not just that it's dual narratives, but I would also emphasize that the food is absolutely amazing, and it becomes more amazing even when we're with Aziz's family. So I think I just want to kind of give you that picture. The second area that we focused on is the immediate difficulty, the immediate challenge confronting the South Hebron Hills. And that's why we are having an emergency campaign to provide support for Yes Theater to do some additional work in the Massaferrata and Susiak region. So with that as a backdrop, I'd like to emphasize what my wife has said to me many times, that I'm the lucky one to have started Healing Across Divides, because through that, I've worked with amazing people and met amazing people. You've already met Nihad, you've met Aziz, you met Dr. Mohammed, and now I'd like to introduce Sarah Basha, who's one of our board members, and who I've known now for several years, and just a pleasure and a joy to introduce you, and I'll hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Basha, and first I want to thank all my colleagues at HATD, Karen, Norbert, Tova, Morty, everyone that's on the call, Aziz as well, Nihad, anyone else I missed, because these group of people are relentless and they're very dedicated. And I have not seen that very much in some of the organizations I've belonged to. So I just want to give my team or my people a kind of a kudos. Before I start, you're going to see my accent go a little funny every now and then because I code switch. A little bit of background on me. I'm actually from India originally, but I grew up in the Middle East in Kuwait. So I have this real affinity to the Israeli-Palestinian area and what's happening. And over the years, as I migrated to the United States, the issue has become very close to my heart. And I'll start by telling you that my relationship with Aziz goes back to 2014. I actually joined a Mejdi tour. So the person that I've known the longest on this call is Aziz. I joined a Mejdi tour through Georgetown University in partnership with George Mason University here in the DC area, and went on this trip that was very life-changing. The reason is because we went as a conflict resolution group or department, and what Aziz and his group does is have a multidisciplinary look at everything that's happening on the ground. So it's a bit of culture, it's a bit of business, it's a bit of nonprofits, it's a bit of people, it's a bit of history, it's everything. So you get this really nice comprehensive picture of what's going on and what the issues are and how to help. So I would encourage everybody to sign up for these tours, spread the word. We have a tour in 2023, the March 12th to 22nd tour coming up. It's a safe place, it's fun. Aziz is very good at pinpointing the best places to eat for sure. And then I have a soft spot for Nablisi Kanafa. So yeah, I have nothing but good words to say there. So please think about the tour. It's the best time to go right now because I think that things are relatively in a place where you can observe stuff from a safe point, and Aziz makes sure that he keeps people safe. So very life-changing for me. So I would encourage everybody to go on that trip. It's well worth every cent of the trip. So besides talking about the tour, I did want to point out a few things about this program that we're working with Massaferrata group, or the Yes Theater, I should say. First of all, I think health and the arts are an amazing way to bring people together from all backgrounds. And so I encourage everybody, if you have, interest in the area, if you could please consider donating very generously to the cause. I'm going to quickly try to share my screen to show you exactly what your funding and help will go towards. If you could see this, I hope it works. I'm not sure if you can see the screen, but right now, your help if we're able to collect $5,000, that helps about 375 people. You know that we're talking about a population of about 3,000 people in that area, so that's significant. And $10,000 would help 750 residents of that area. And then 15,000 helps about 1,125, which is close to almost half the population of that area. So what would the funding go towards? It would go towards counselor salaries. It would go towards 15 to 20 therapy sessions for the residents, and it also covers the travel costs to the area for 9 months. So, you know, these are important things, and we encourage people on this call to donate generously and to consider, you know, my purpose today was to talk about the lovely Mejdi Tours, but also to ask you to please consider donating what you can to the cause. You can see that these are things that are at the grassroots level that do affect people directly, so your money will be well used. And then hopefully one day you'll get to go to the area and actually see the results of your help. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there. And if you guys have any questions for me, I'm here too. But Norbert, back to you.
Thank you very much.
Norbert, can I add something? And
Please.
totally not related to the tour, but I think I've said this last time we talked, is growing up in Jerusalem, I did not have, like 99% of Palestinians don't have any access for counseling, for therapy. Doesn't matter what trauma you go through, and most people there do go through trauma. And that, I think, was the biggest difference between how Israelis and Palestinians deal with the trauma. Is Israelis get universal health care that actually cover those therapy and counseling. And it makes a huge difference when you do it. And for me, I had to wait, you know, 20 more years later until I was in the US and was able to get that counseling and therapy. And the suffering you go through and how much it messes up your life, it's hard to explain. So it might not sound for some people as such a big deal, but it is. And I think a lot of the internal even problems we have in our society are caused by these untreated traumas, and the lack of therapy that people who need it just can't afford it, can't have access to it, don't know where to go and get it. There are so many reasons why it doesn't happen. So just as I'm reading what Sarah was talking about, I thought it's important to mention that.
I just want to piggyback on that. You know, going to counseling in general is something that there's a stigma around. And so part of Yes Theater's job is to get rid of that stigma. And so they do a really good job. Like Dr. Muhammad was saying, they go into, you know, the local councils and they work with them to bring awareness and let people know that it's okay. So I just want to let people know that the work that they do in that area, and some of our other projects that also deal with some psychosocial, because we're doing this in Jenin, is really amazing, because it's getting rid of that stigma, letting people know that it's okay. We have issues, you know, we can talk about it, and giving people that access, because the other issue in Palestine is access to this kind of care. So people like Yes Theater and our group in Jenin who are working together. This is another group, Al Majd, are doing a lot in the sense of just allowing people to know that it's okay and giving them that access, and that's through our funding through HATD. So just wanted to put that up there.
Thank you, Nihat. Thank you, Aziz. So I'd like, as we begin to wrap up, I want to say a few comments, and if there's any final questions, I would be happy to respond. But specifically, Kathy Levine emphasizes the important point is, why are we doing this specific campaign for Masafer, Yatta, and Susia right now? Because again, remember, the Healing Across the Divide, we're supporting about 10 different community groups, both in Israel and in the Palestinian territories. Through these community groups, we're working with the most marginalized in those areas. In Israel, with the refugee asylum seekers, with an unrecognized Bedouin village that has formed a farm, with the very low-income Jews in Yerucham in southern Israel. So these are some of the groups that we're funding, most marginalized. I thought I had muted everybody, but I guess I didn't. But the reason why we're doing this particular campaign now is the fact that the Israeli Supreme Court is allowing the demolition of those villages. The area was the decision was on appeal for years. We, as Healing Across Divides, have been involved in the region for years, as Nihat pointed out, we were already involved with the Palestine Working Women's Society and Development. The reality is the reason why this is acute right now is because the homes are being demolished right now. And so that's why we're trying to raise additional funds for specifically this program. So within that spirit, if there's any final questions or comments from Aziz or Nihad or Dr. Mohammed or Sarah?
Dr. Norbert, what I would like to say that money is not an objective or an intention. I think money is a tool, but what we need exactly is your support as human beings. You are brothers in freedom and humanity, and I think that what you are doing to support the Palestinian people is very important, and it will be reflected positively on the life of Palestinians.
Herbert, can I just
Yeah.
ask? Can I just ask that you give people the mechanism of getting to the donation page?
Yep. Thank you. It's there.
And you'll send something out right after the call, right?
Yes, we will. We're going to send a copy of the recording. There's a number of people who couldn't make it, who asked for it. And we'll be sending the recording, and we'll send the follow-up note. So as I said at the very beginning of this conversation, I start on time and I end on time. I want to particularly thank Aziz Abu Sarah for the amazing work that he has done in starting Mejdi Tours. I'm truly fortunate to working not only with Nihad Fatah, but I want to give a shout out to Tova Reznicek, who's our marketing and communications director, who's on the call. We have at least a few board members on the call, so I want to give a shout out to them, and to thanks to Sarah Basha. This work could not occur without all of you. It's concrete, it's measurable. Look forward to staying in touch with you. Feel free to email me with any questions that you might have as a follow-up. It's 10:59. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.